Hello and welcome to everybody who's tuning in for this inspirational video. I say inspirational because Leah is an inspirational lady to be around. I'm Aurora Dawn Campbell, your IAPC&M host for this recording, and I'm delighted to welcome Leah. Hello and welcome, Leah.
Hi, Aurora. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here talking with you now today.
You're very welcome. You're welcome. And as you can hear from Leah's dulcet tones, she's from Ireland,
I am.
the Emerald Isles, a place I want to go with my motorhome and travel the whole way around it. But I know you've got to pick the right month to do that weather-wise.
Well, the right day, maybe. I'm not sure about the right month. I don't think we have a full month of good weather.
Very good. So let me introduce you properly. It's Liadh Fitzgerald. She's an accredited fellow coach and she's the CEO of the Women's Health Network. She's also an IAPC&M accredited training provider. Why? Because she has more than one course accredited. So she has two equivalent level 7 courses. That's a degree level by anybody's standards. It's intense. It's over 300 hours. One is in fertility coaching. And actually, more recently, you were nominated Best Fertility Coach Care for the awards in Amsterdam. What an honor to be nominated.
Thank you. I was absolutely delighted. Absolutely
Yeah,
delighted. It was,
I
and it
bet.
came a couple of days after I got my stamp of approval accreditation for my menopause program. So it was a win-win week that particular
It
week.
was. It was. And that's the second course that you've had accredited at level 7, Menopause Expert Coach Practitioner Training. So wonderful work that you're doing. So before we go into all the work side of things, what do you do that fills your heart with joy outside of work, I wonder?
Oh wow, outside of work, that's a great question actually. Outside of work, I'm very much into aligning, and I think once you're aligned with something that fills you with joy, you have happiness that you can access anytime you want. And I think outside work, I'm very much, I suppose what fills me with joy is my family. I have a wonderful husband, Mick or Mike, whatever you want to call him, and I have two beautiful daughters, Kate and Jane. They fill me with huge joy. I also love reading and writing. I'm a writer at heart, a fictional writer, not an academic writer. And these are the things that fill me with joy. But I love nothing more actually, and the simple pleasure of sitting outside in our garden. We live in the countryside, we're near the water, we can't see it from our garden, but I love to sit in the garden and actually just exist. But
Yeah.
everything, I think everything has an element of pleasure that it can give to you. So they would be my main ones.
It's interesting. And I love asking practitioners this question because we have to show up as perfectly or we think perfectly as possible for our clients, or as we
Mhm.
say, imperfectly perfect. And, if you're an empath, if you're particularly sensitive, you can take on a lot of what your clients are going through. And yours is
Mhm.
a very emotional field that you're working
Yeah.
in the fertility field. So I think it's really important that as practitioners, we do something outside of work because we love our work. That's a given. But outside of work, that replenishes us, that makes our hearts sing. And quite often it's people's families. And increasingly, it's probably no surprise, but increasingly I hear from people when I ask that question, it's being out in nature. It's
Yeah.
walking, it's the sea, it's the mountains. And it reminds me of the meditation we did today with my group. Where I asked them to open their eyes and just stare at the clouds. So we did a
Yeah.
meditation just looking up at the sky for 30 minutes in silence. And they all said it was over far too soon. But
Wow.
just getting in touch with nature, it's so replenishing, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And you can feel it. It's tangible, and you can smell it. And it's just, I suppose it grounds us. It's very earthing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
rebalances you, gives you another perspective, and it makes you realize how small we are and how
Yeah.
short our time on this planet is.
hmm
So, we'd love to hear more about the work that you do. You're training the next generation of great coaches in a very specific field. I was
Yeah.
really surprised when I met you. I'd never heard of this before. So,
Wow.
you're in Ireland. Where do your students come from?
That's again another great question. So when this program was first developed, it was for all of my programs, but I suppose I began really this journey with the fertility expert coach practitioner program, and it was initially designed for what I thought would be the person coming in from Ireland, maybe England, who would be or the UK, who would maybe be the functional medicine practitioner, the nutritionist, because that would be my own background. But actually, who came knocking at the door was the woman across the globe who had had a fertility challenge. That was the individual. So I have students who do all-nighters when we're doing our live teaching in the United States. We have a lot of students in the UK, obviously, and in Ireland. Not as many in Ireland, actually, as we have in the UK. We have a bit more in the UK. We have Australia, we have mainland Europe, anywhere. And it's
Wow.
absolutely wonderful to be able to have that stretch and, to be able to say, right, okay, we have a program that resonates beyond the little community here or beyond what I thought was going to be the community. And it's a program that women feel, I've gone through a particular journey. I didn't have support. I didn't have help. I want to be that support for the next generation of women and men that are going through a fertility challenge. So our women I will say women because we've only one man. So our women are throughout the world. It's a global audience and a global classroom, which is brilliant.
Wow, that is amazing. And what came first, Leah? The person who wanted to become pregnant or the person who wanted to coach and help women who wanted to become pregnant?
Oh my goodness. So for me, the person who came first was actually the person who wanted to become pregnant. So I had a bricks and mortar business and I worked in it since 2005 and I had some months I had 90% success months. It got to the stage that I thought that I was going to start getting into trouble with fertility clinics because people were cancelling their IVF treatments or their reproductive treatments in general. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was lecturing and teaching alongside it. And my students were always saying to me, can you mentor us? Can you teach us more? I remember one student saying to me that we were in the middle of a storm, and this was now an in-person, and this wasn't online. We were in the middle of a storm, and she was coming from maybe 100 kilometers away, maybe more actually. And she was saying, I was saying to my husband this morning that no matter what happens, I am not missing this lecture with Leah. And she said, have you any more for us? And I was like, no, 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 no. And then I was like, well, actually, if I look into my heart and if I look at my true alignment, I'm actually a teacher by nature and I'm actually a businesswoman by nature. And even though I loved clinic and I loved the individual coming into my clinic, I kind of knew I had outgrown it and there was a next stage, but I didn't know where to start. And COVID was my silver lining, to a degree, of course, because the clinic had to stop. Now, I had been planning on bringing my fertility program online anyway, so I was kind of halfway down the route of figuring everything out. And then I was like, right, okay, you know what? Not only can I bring my fertility program online for, we'll say, patients, even though I wouldn't call them patients, I was calling them clients. I was like, I can also bring this online and teach. I can have a wider ripple effect if I teach those in the methods that I am using in order to support women and men to get pregnant, to optimize their reproductive health and to have greater successes than they're having already and greater successes going through treatment as well. So I created this beautiful program and I ran it for the first time. So we had our first cohort and it went really well. And it was amazing because we had a mixture we had fertility nurses, we had nutritionists, but we also had coaches in it. And the coaches fascinated me. I had been coaching as well for years and mentoring through my own work and through the lecturing work. And I was a clinical, the senior clinical supervisor of a college. So I brought all the students for a number of years, all through their clinical training and all through their in-person clinic, we'll say as well. So there was a huge, so I knew that there were ways that we kind of helped bring somebody through a journey. So the coaches anyway that were inside in our first run of the program will say absolutely fascinated me, brought so much to the table. They were very worried that they wouldn't have the knowledge the others had, and the others were very worried that they didn't have these superb coaching skills. So I kind of said, hang on a moment, these go so well together. This program is built as a practitioner coach. So we train you to be a coach. We also train you the practitioner side of things so that you can stand toe to toe in the medical field, which is exceptionally important, so that your voice is heard, we'll say. And then something switched. I don't know what it was, but every single person, bar a few, coming through to me for interview were women who had been on this journey. And I came back onto yourselves and I said, my audience has changed. I need to change my intake criteria. And we worked on that. And I was like, there was no turning back. It was almost like a door had been opened. And then there was just women coming in who had these amazing stories, these heartbreaking stories, these inspirational stories. And it all stemmed from, I've been there and I don't want anybody else to go through what I did, but I need knowledge. How can I support these individuals without an abundance of knowledge and without a framework and an ability to hold them in a conversation, to hold them maybe with their partner, if there's a partner as well, so that we can, do some couples coaching, relationship building. We need tools for this. We need a pathway, we need a structure, and we need a foundation. But alongside that, we also need a pathway, a structure, and a foundation to optimize reproductive health. So we pull the two together so beautifully and so seamlessly that we teach now all our students how to be the most amazing coach, who knows everything about coaching skills, who works in a specific framework of coaching skills. Well, that's what we teach them. They can branch out into, there's so many ways to coach. And then we teach them all of the medical side, all of the side of treatments, therapies, medications, tests, results, ranges, everything that the medic will talk about. So that if they're in a circle around their client, not only are they the person who has the client's back and who's going to mentor and signpost and coach and support and get them from where they are here right now to where they want to be, whether that's making a decision about egg donation or coming to the end of the fertility line without the precious baby and wondering, where do we go next? You need somebody who's like, I can help you figure that out. So we've combined the two into the most amazing and special program. It's exceptionally emotive during the training, and we know that it's exceptionally emotive when you come out of the training and you're working with your client. But it's hugely rewarding as well, and it's absolutely necessary. I hope, Dawn, that I've explained that well. I get
You
very
have.
passionate about it,
Yeah.
because my own story is built on, ironically, a fertility challenge as well.
Mm.
So I always say that I know it from patient to practitioner and back again. I know it from both sides. And now I've, anybody going through a fertility journey will have gone through some tests that blindside you, that you haven't been prepared for. Our coaches prepare their clients for that. So that's what we do. And we're all as passionate as each other about it. So
you've created a wonderful community of practitioners and parents to be who are all supporting each other internationally.
yeah.
Because we continually hear about mature women who are single but they want a family,
Yeah.
couples who perhaps are not a great match reproductively. They love each other, but whatever is the problem. And to know that there are so many more options out there, and people like your community, rather than just going down the pure allopathic medical route of a very intrusive, very expensive, very painful IVF option, from what I hear, it's just incredible that this has just blossomed out
Yeah.
of, well, it was a catalyst of your own personal journey.
Yeah, without a doubt. And
What
what's
a
absolutely
legacy.
gorgeous is that I'm now getting photographs. So
Of
we're all in a
course.
WhatsApp group, of course. They'll have questions as they're going through training, and every once in a while we get pictures too. They're meeting each other in real life. All these practitioners to be are meeting each other and building that. We're Women's Health Network. So there's a network, there's a community network within our training base as well. And it's just fabulous to see. And it's fabulous to see our American friends who are, up all night in the middle of the night, and they're coming in training. And at this stage now, we're empathizing and we're having fun, when they're sitting there in darkness and it's gradually getting brighter. And it's an amazing community, and it's attracting in women mainly who are passionate about it. and who are so dedicated to learning and experiencing and exploring. For those who didn't truly understand what coaching was at the beginning, I suppose there was that initial initiation into coaching. What exactly is it? What am I supposed to be doing? And do I understand it? I'm not sure I do. It's funny how often so many people don't truly, they may be a little bit afraid of what coaching is. Am I going to do it right? And by the time we come to the end of our unit or our modules that teach coaching, they're like, everybody needs a coach. And I'm like, yes, everybody does need a coach. I have a coach. We all have
Yeah.
our own coaches, have coaches, but
Yes.
everybody needs a coach, no matter what
Yeah.
aspect of life it is. When you're stuck, when you can't, when you don't know how to move forward, your coach is your best friend. Your
Yeah.
coach is the person you
Absolutely.
want next to you.
Yeah.
So
And you're absolutely right. We all need a coach, a mentor, or a supervisor that's going to keep us on point and our skills relevant and make us be the best person we can be for the next
yeah.
session and have those practices in place. So I'm just thinking, if I wanted, and I don't personally, but I'm thinking
Mhm.
of people in our community, an international coaching community. If I was one of those coaches, Leah, who've been coaching for years and want to
Mhm.
specialize and really drill down. I'm a holistic health coach, but more on the nutrition side and fitness.
Yeah.
I'd be thinking, oh, I'm just not academic enough to learn all
Mhm.
this medical stuff. How do you get
Yeah.
around that? Because I can understand it's easy to teach the medical people coaching skills,
Mhm.
but the coaches teaching them medical skills,
Mhm.
that seems like a taller order to me. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts around that?
That's it. And it is a tall order. It is. And I suppose, as I said, initially the program had been built for those who were very used to the medical side of things. And that aspect didn't change because I was like, I'm not diluting it because everybody coming through
Good.
has the same exact same capabilities and wish to support, you know, regardless of what their previous background is with regards to the medical side of things. So I always say to everyone that we want you to sit back, listen, and learn. You're not going to be tested on your medical knowledge, but you need to have it on your ear, on your radar. You need to know that it's important. You can go down a rabbit hole, you can research it. We are going to be teaching you stuff that you'll be like, I've never heard this before. That's absolutely fine. We want to teach it to you and give you that information. Um, we have medics who come in and they teach us the medical side of stuff. And I say, I'm not a medic. I'm not an embryologist. I'm not an IVF consultant. And I don't do any of the tests or the treatments that you'd find from the GP lab onwards. But that doesn't stop me from understanding it and talking about it and supporting my client to understand it better. And that's what we teach you. So we're not expecting anybody to come out the other side as a medic at all, or as somebody who can claim to be a professional in medicine of any form. But we're going to train you to understand all of the therapies and treatments that your fertility client may be exposed to. We're going to teach you how to understand maybe the miscarriages and types of miscarriage they've gone through. We do roll it all back, and we teach you about the endocrine system. And then we have a look at hormones 101. So we bring you back to what you would have learned in school with regards to that. And then we say, right, okay, now we need to teach you the foundations to better fertility. So there are different pillars. We have 5 pillars to the foundations that we look at. And this teaches some of the core systems. We come at it from a systems biology viewpoint. So we teach you some of the core systems and how they influence the endocrine system, which is your hormone system, and how influences within our life choices can disrupt the workings of that. And then we literally draw the map of how this disrupts reproductive function. And we say, right, if we reverse engineer, we know our client is in front of us because they have a fertility issue. So we know there's something wrong with the endocrine system. If we reverse engineer, let's try and find what other system might be at play. So we look at health questionnaires. We get our clients to self-assess if we're not qualified to assess. And then we say, right, okay, what's mediating, what's pushing along a dysfunction or a dis-ease within the system? Stress, bad diet, lack of sleep, infection, you name it. And we say, right, okay, if we can get a handle on these things, then we can, down the line, support the system that is compromising and the endocrine system. So we see what the picture is and we say, right, where can we find our home? Some will be enthralled by this and they will absolutely love every minute of it. Others will step back and say, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel comfortable maybe talking about the nutrition side of things. And we're like, that's absolutely fine. We give you a fertility program that you take. It's white labeled, you take, and you can give all or portions of it to your client. But your role might be to coach them through making decisions on what part of this fertility enhancement program can I put into my life? I know I need to, I feel stressed. The coach is trained to help you define what that is and where can you make changes and what will that look like if you make changes. And let me educate you a bit about stress and reproductive function. And now let's talk about if you did de-stress, if you did manage to put a de-stress, plan in place, what do you think that might mean for reproductive function? So we coach them around the intricacies of it. And for a coach who isn't comfortable with the talking about the medical side of things, their home is still 100% within this area of all of this knowledge, because you're going to be educating your client to a degree, a large degree for some, lesser to another, but you're going to be coaching them through how to make things better, how to set the scene that the body is in a much better place for reproduction. And that's our ultimate goal, is we want to help. It's a 360 model. We want to help the emotional side and the physical side, the mental side. We want to support all of it. And you can do that through coaching. When we had our nutritionists who were on the program, and they were like, I don't believe that I have been giving my clients nutrition programs for years, sending them away thinking, what a great job I've done. And I never thought that they might struggle with implementing it. Whereas the coaching students were like, how could you send somebody away and not figure out, do they need support in implementing it? So we brought the two together so nobody should feel uncomfortable, and everybody is encouraged to find their own comfort zone within the training. But that they have this huge level of knowledge, which means that they're taken very seriously. That's why we've put the word expert before our expert coach practitioner. So expert is in your title, because we're giving you every bit of information. You're taught about all the medications, but you're now obviously not a pharmacist, but you're taught about them, because your client would be told, I need to go on this medication. And you're like, well, I know what that is. So you're not coming to any situation blind, but you're the professional with regards to coaching them through it. That's the difference.
Yeah, that is very, very reassuring. I would feel very comfortable now that actually I would have all the tools in my toolkit to be able to support somebody. So if somebody said, oh, I've been asked to take this or whatever, yep, I know about that, and so on. It kind of reminds me of well, it's what the Buddhists do. They would go to somebody 6 months before they wanted to get pregnant to prepare themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually, because they think it is so important that the woman and the man is aligned in all aspects of their life. And so what I've just heard you describe also almost is a preventative method. You have people who just get pregnant at the drop of the hat. And we probably all can, if we weren't stressed, on the wrong diet, etc., etc. There's lots of reasons why we can't get pregnant as easily as some other people. And just having all that information is almost like prevention is better than the cure. People are waiting until they need the cure, and in the case of fertility, the cure is IVF or whatever. I don't know enough about it, but if you can go 6 months before that situation, or 2 years before that, when you're planning to have a child, you work with your organization, your coaches, you get pregnant easier. That's what I'm hearing.
That's it. You're so right. There are some situations where it will always be IVF or the artificial reproductive. Like if you've blocked fallopian tubes, or if there's an issue with the man, that that medical intervention has 100% a place for a lot of people. But for others who have what you call your idiopathic infertility, which is your unknown fertility, and for that individual, that's where I was up with my 90% success months. Because if you get everything working, I always say we're not on the same playing field when we have a fertility challenge. So we're not going to get pregnant at the drop of a hat. You know, it's not that easy. We have to put work in. Ideally, three months minimum, 4 months better, 6 months better again. It takes 3 months to mature an egg. So, and pretty much the same for the sperm. But you really, we have a space, and we map it, we show it, we literally show where we should be coming in, trying to support better functioning. And it is, you know, before the eggs have been selected to be matured for the next cycle. So yes, and if we can get in at that stage, if we can really put in all our foundations and our next level interventions, which are our egg and sperm health interventions, oh my goodness, the wonders that can be done is just, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel very aggrieved that this isn't in clinics already. It will be, it's my mission, but it should be, because there's so much that can be done, should be done. And actually we're not serving the fertility client properly if we're missing this massive side to the fertility journey and the fertility struggle. So
I think it almost needs to be, you know how when people want to get married, they go and see their priest or their vicar and they talk about everything that they want. They almost need to talk to somebody 6 months before they want to get pregnant to sort everything out, to make it easy. And you'd like to think that having done that work, you have a better, stronger marriage. Having done that work, you become better parents, rather than, oh, I'm pregnant, and you just take it for granted. I don't know if there's any research out there. I'd be really interested that people who have gone through this make better parents. I mean, you'd like to think that everybody who has a parent has the best will in the world when they start out, but it doesn't always work out that they're great parents. But if you've gone through all those trials and errors, surely that must make you a better parent. You had better intentions. You thought about the health of your baby before you even started. But that's probably a whole other subject. But I want to bring it full circle. So the child is now grown up and you've got a new course for the menopause.
Exactly. So mom has gone through, mom or not mom has gone through her reproductive years. And you know, maybe they were good, maybe they weren't so good, maybe there was always an inkling that there was something gynecologically maybe that could have a question mark over it, but they've come through that and now they're coming through menopause, or they're coming into the perimenopause phase. And actually there can be a lap over between our fertility client and our perimenopause age. So because you're talking, this could be perimenopause, could be late 30s into your early 40s. The average age for menopause is 52, and you're in perimenopause for about 10 years. And it can be earlier for some women. It can be a lot earlier for other women. So yes, so they're coming through, and here they are. They're hit with a brick wall. I woke up, I'm 51. I woke up a couple of years ago feeling like the Tin Man had invaded my body because nothing could move anymore and everything was painful. We have women who feel that they're going absolutely crazy because, excuse me, brain fog has overtaken, or they just feel that there a problem. Do they have to talk to somebody about maybe dementia? Because again, you have this issue with the brain function. And we must remember that our estrogen receptors are found all over the body. And when estrogen is lacking, those receptors that had a function, there was a function for estrogen in that space, in the bone, in the brain. And now estrogen isn't sitting into those receptors. So there will, of course, be, function will change because, what was informing function at the time of our reproductive years was our estrogen, and now that estrogen is declining, or very, very minimal. So function has to change. It has to, in the face of that, that decline. So you're left and you're like, right, my body is changing, my mind is changing, my muscle mass is changing. I have a lot of pain and maybe exceptionally heavy periods. I think I'm going insane. I can no longer engage at work. I'm very anxious. On and on and on. There's a list of as long as your arm, and it's an infinite list, and every woman will experience something different. and you're like, where do I go for help? You know, it's one of those subjects. I think anything to do with the female reproductive body is almost taboo at some, you know, at some point. We're not as fluent speaking about it as we should be. And you have your woman then who is saying, I don't know who to turn to, and should I go on to HRT? I've heard HRT is, you know, there was talk when my mum was going through it that HRT isn't safe. Is it still not safe? And there's nobody answering our questions, or they're answering them to a point, or women are being told it's in your mind, or you're just anxious. Here's an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety, or you need rest, and but there's nobody truly answering or supporting you through this massive change and the challenges that come with it. So our menopause expert coach practitioner program is another level 7 that teaches all about coaching and all about what is menopause, what are the different stages of menopause, what are the different treatments, what can we do ourselves to support it, how do you support groups of women that are going through menopause, you know, what is menopause in the workplace, what's going on there. And we also have other work going on in the background in Women's Health Network that talks to businesses about that. And we're like, okay, we need to push a lot of our companies, organizations, the workforce, a lot of it is women folk or women, you know, as the ambassador, we'll say, if you go into your call center or your caring community or retail, and it's often women of an age where they have reared their families and they are heading towards menopause. And now they're stuck in a stage of, I feel like I can't move forward because the symptoms that menopause has given me, I can't sleep, I no longer sleep, I'm absolutely exhausted, I'm very anxious with it, I'm in a lot of pain, nobody's taking me seriously, and I feel like my body has just given up, you know. And so we need to support these women hugely to get through and over these this phase that can be so awful. And there are certain things that will drive it, certain physiological things that will drive some of the symptoms. Insulin imbalance, for example, is one. Cortisol, insulin, and there's a number of things. So we're like, right, okay, these again are our things that might be driving a worsening of some symptoms. So let's hit it at both angles as well. Let's try and support the symptoms physiologically, but let us 100% support the client, you know, psychologically, emotionally, and let's help coach them and support them through this phase. So we have Women's Health Network. We're all about women, and we want to support women, and we want to protect women, and we want to, I suppose, advocate for women when we sometimes lose our voice. We lose our voice when we're facing a fertility challenge often because it's unknown. The same coming through menopause because it's unknown. We're not born with the booklet on how to deal with these two huge stages of life, trying to grow another human being within our body, and then our body's saying, right, you've done your job, we're taking away the hormones that, you know, made you feel good. I mean, estrogen is a great one for creativity and obviously for youth, and now we're going to give you a whole host of pain, memory issues, anxiety, etc. And you know something, it's not good enough. And that's, I often talk to my own students, you know, what is your why? Where do you find your why? Because your why will keep you going when you're doubting yourself or when you feel, oh, I'm so tired, I want to pack everything in and just, you know, sleep for a month. And I suppose my why that keeps me going and kept me going through all the accreditation and keeps me going through everything else that I do is that it's not good enough. That what we're giving to women and in the life stages that they might come across, you know, trauma or issues or things they need to cope with or get through, the support for them isn't good enough. We don't serve women good. It's not good enough the way we serve them. And one of my missions is to change that and to train wonderful women to support wonderful women. That's my why. So
amazing. Do you know what? I'm listening to you, Leah, and I think we also need to train some men to be
yes,
ambassadors
yes.
because I mean, when I worked corporately, I worked for a very progressive company that really embraced women. There was no glass ceiling really. But the men, I think in business, don't want to talk about the menopause. Women, I certainly didn't at 51 or whatever age it was. I think I was about 48 actually when I started to go through it. I think there's a link when you start your periods early, you tend to start the menopause early, but in my 50s, and I just kind of soldiered on and pretended I was perfect and I was not struggling and all the rest of it. So women have a duty to stand up for themselves as well. It's not necessarily about finding your voice, because we've got a voice. It's about using your voice and having that confidence and that network. But it's also, as you said, educating the women and the men,
Yeah,
because essentially men still hold the strings at
yeah.
top jobs in corporates, and women would probably, from the little bit of work that I've done with some other coaches in this field, they'd rather give up their corporate job, even though they've got years of expertise still in
Yeah,
them to share, because they can't cope with sweating in board meetings and
yeah,
things like that. They just can't face it and they leave.
yeah,
And that's a real crime for the
yeah.
economy.
You're absolutely right. And a lot of the work that we've started doing on the corporate side of things addresses that or works to address it. But I'll tell you, when we had our one man that came into our fertility program, I was thrilled. I was like, please, 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 I want you to join, because we need the male voice inside here as
Yeah.
well. And we need you to understand, for your own clients. He owned a number of health businesses, and he was a true advocate of health for everybody, and he wanted
Yes.
to understand his fertility clients much, much better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, we need everybody, and we need to do it actually with our children as well. So we need to go into schools and we need to be teaching them about reproductive health and all of this, so that it's the norm. I mean, my children are 10 and 12, and it's the total norm for them to be talking about their bodies and mine, and what I go through every month, and the menopause that I'm facing towards now at the moment. They know it all. It's normal. It's natural.
Yeah.
There's nothing to question, or it's just as it is. This is our body. Let's just
Yeah.
see how we can support it.
That sounds quite primal and tribal. I can imagine families in the Amazon know all of this stuff,
There you go. They
but
do.
we don't
That's
in the
it. Yeah.
West.
Yeah, or we kind of hide it, or don't talk about that, or don't say that, or and you're like, why? You can say whatever you want inside in my house, that's what I say to my children. But of course, when they're going to others, I have to remind them that, look, you might know a little bit more than others. And so talk openly to myself and dad at home, and I suppose
Yes.
I don't want to be getting phone
Yeah.
calls from another parent to say,
And the
your
parents
child
say,
has told
"You've
my children
traumatized.
everything. That's
You've
right.
traumatized my son."
So I have
Oh,
to be careful as well.
yeah. Well, look, I could talk to you for hours, because this is fascinating. I mean, I'm a decade older than you, so all of this is almost past me, but I think it's fascinating for the well-being of the future leaders and generations of people who are coming after us. So you are doing amazing work. It's an incredible legacy. You're a great role model for your girls.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I know just from reading some press in the UK that this is more prominent in Parliament. They're having discussions
Hmm.
about it with some celebrities, but I don't know what's going on in other countries. So you've got some courses coming up. So if you would just
Yep.
share with us, please,
I'd
Leah,
love
when
to. I'd
is
love
your
to.
next intake?
So our next intake for both courses is it's happening right now. So we're interviewing. No, it's an interview process. So we're interviewing and enrolling right now, and we're starting. We have our induction evening in September, and the first weekend in October is when we begin our training. So we're starting with a fresh new group. So now we will have two cohorts running at the same time. We have two fertilities running at the same time, and now we'll be starting our fresh fertility and our brand new menopause program at the very beginning of October.
And
But
when
as
are
I
you
say,
going to
interview
sleep?
now. Well, I'm actually going on holidays this week, so I might sleep then. I hope.
But when you've got two courses running
That's
congruently,
it.
you're going to
And there
find that
and it's the
exhausting.
live training, because we do it is live training once a month for a full weekend. So I wanted to put on a third, but I was like, oh God, no, I don't, because I need to be in them for the couple of years where they're settling into themselves. I need to be inside in all the training and seeing how it's going and seeing how everybody is getting on with
Yeah.
their own lectures, etc. So I'm like, I can't put anything else on now for 2024, but 2025 again now we'll bring some more on. But October, our menopause expert coach practitioner, our fertility expert coach practitioner, they're both hitting the ground running. And menopause for the first time, but we're totally in our rhythm and roll with fertility. We're that's nailed. So so
Yes.
yeah, so we're
Yeah.
on the walk towards that now. And as I say, interviewing right now, and we'll be interviewing throughout the summer and up until we start in October. So
That's amazing, because not many training providers or university courses where they're taking on coach students would even think of interviewing, but it just shows you how specialist your field is. How long is the course, by the way?
12 months. So it's 12 months,
Okay.
12 modules, and it's the academic year. So you'll be with us from October to October. And we finished last weekend with our existing groups. We're not back till September. So we finish
Okay.
early July and we come back early September. So October to October. So
And how is it delivered? You've mentioned Zoom, but you've also
yeah.
mentioned weekends.
Absolutely. So what happens is, so you have your own student portal, and within your student portal, every single month, recorded videos of the lectures are put into your portal. But we also teach them live, and it's the live component. You need to be at the live component. You need to be at a certain percentage of the live component, and that's on a Saturday and a Sunday, 10 a.m. Irish UK time to 4 p.m. Irish UK time with short breaks, and that's a Saturday and a Sunday once a month for 12 months. At the end of it, obviously there's an assessment, and we do live assessments at the end of it. That would be in October. So they're extra days, they're weekdays. The assessments are during the week. And I probably should have mentioned, we also do business training within it. So you come out we've just come hot off the heels of two business intensive, our business intensive 2 days, just that we wrapped up last week. Because you know what, you're going to have so many ideas. You want to run a business. Maybe it's a new part to a business, maybe it's a brand new business. We need to get the ideas from here into a structure, because I'm a business mentor as well. So we get you on the right track for business as well. So I suppose we look at our students holistically. You know, they're here
Yeah.
because they want to learn, create a business and deliver it. Let's also help them figure out, what does that look like? And we've some
Yeah.
amazing ideas coming from the students.
I'm sure.
So
Just to clarify, the 2 days live, is that
mhm.
live on Zoom or
Live on
physically
Zoom.
coming to Ireland?
No, live on Zoom. Live on
Okay,
Zoom.
all
So
right.
wherever you're from, everybody turns up with their coffee and their
Yes.
notebook and their paper. Most people are probably in their slippers. Brilliant. Get comfortable, sit back, let us learn. We have a range of different teachers that come in, and it's all on Zoom. And then the live is all recorded, and that goes into your portal as well. So you have pre-recording, you have your live day, and then you can watch the recording afterwards if there's something that you missed or you particularly liked. So we have it covered from many, many angles.
Right. Okay. Well, look, I said to you, let's chat for 10 to 20 minutes, Leah. And I think
Oops.
it's probably been about an hour. And I
That's
feel like we've only just scratched the surface. But the idea of these videos is to give prospects who contact me to say, I've read about this course on the International Directory. I want to know more. So it's lovely to have a video where they can hear your dulcet tones, see your gorgeous smile, get a feel for your energy, and really get a sense of, this is the right course for me because
brilliant.
of.
Yeah.
So I hope your anybody listening is, feels that the time has just flown by. I know it's a much longer video than we normally do, but I'm sure if this is your area of interest and you want to become an expert, this hour will have flown by and you'll have enjoyed spending time with Leah as much as I have. So thank you everybody for listening, for your time and attention. You can find out all about Leah's course on the International Directory profile. There's an e-guide as well on how to choose your training provider. You're obviously going to be interviewed by Leah, so you'll have lots of opportunity to discuss and make that decision. This is the right one for me. So good luck, everybody, with your profession, your niche in coaching. I think if I was a couple of decades younger, this would really interest me as a holistic health practitioner. I
Mhm.
think I would have added this to my skill set. So thank you for your generosity and sharing all that with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.